So here's a molding knife that I got. It's pretty standard chair rail molding, and I'm just gonna run some pine through it to kind of get a feel for the machine, the adjustments, the feed roller, the variable speed, before I start pushing any expensive type of wood through it. So I put the knife next to this piece of pine, and I can see immediately that there's about 1/8 of an inch that's going to be left over if I run. Well, I want my thickness to be only to about right there. So there's 1/8 of an inch that I don't need to aug out with the machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my bandsaw up so I can resaw the 1/8 of an inch off that before I put it through the machine. Here's our piece of pine that we're going to resaw. I'm going to go ahead and set up the bandsaw to take care of this for us. Kind of lining it up a little bit. Bring it over. No, it's good right about there. Double check. Yeah. Anytime you resaw something, you're gonna have some resaw marks on it like that. So I usually just run it through the drum sander, kind of get rid of that. So go ahead and do that. Dust collection. So the guide rails that came with this machine won't work with every molding knife that you put in it. I did a crown molding, and these guide rails work with it because the crown molding is a 2-part knife. You have your back knife that's going to make the familiar angles that you got your ceiling and your wall angle. And then you're going to have your top face, which is going to create, that pretty traditional style crown molding. So this knife isn't going to go all the way down on your stock. So you can run with it for crown molding. You can use these. But our chair rail that we're going to use does go all the way down. So we're gonna have to make a kind of a sacrificial board out of wood so that if it does come in contact with it, we don't gouge the cast iron or damage the guide rails that came with the machine. So I'll show you what I come up with. So this is a cold saw. It's meant for cutting steel, but I've cut aluminum with it before. Since I don't want to dull the blade on my Capex saw, I'll just use this. So it's for a couple cuts, I don't think it's that bad. I was able to get this. It's kind of like an angle iron, but it's made of aluminum from the hardware store. So I'm going to make my sacrificial kind of bed board out of this. Or at least that's the idea. I don't know, I gotta kind of mess around with it a little bit and see what I come up with. So that's kind of the 45-degree cut that the cold saw made. Not very good. I mean, it's made for steel, not really aluminum, but Yeah, that's what I did. I'll just clean it up a little bit with the belt sander. So here's kind of the idea I came up with. I got my 2 angle cuts like that. I'll have to rip this down a little bit so it fits on the Moulder. But here's kind of the idea. It has, you know, its angled cut right there, and then it's going to have its angled cut like that. And then when the chair rail blade is spinning, it's going to clear it. And then as it scoops up, it'll clear. It might hit the bed a little bit right here, but that's fine. What we don't want is to hit the cast iron or the guide rails. So, and if this is kind of the molding being fed through here, as it's being fed, hopefully it won't catch on this part right here and then be lifted up. I don't think it will, as long as I've lined it up right. But yeah, that's kind of the idea. So I'll have to just cut 2 more of these, drill some holes in here, attach it, rip this down, and yeah, feed the molding. Comes down like that. It won't hit the guide because there's space like that, and I put the 45 on there like that. Let's drill some holes. Now rip it 8.5. So this is what I got so far. My angle cut pieces like that. Drilled some holes. I'm just going to kind of center it on the board where I want it, and then take it over to the machine and see how far we have to space these out so that we clear that molding knife when it's making its circle like that. Eventually what I'll probably do is do like a T-track in here, so where I can, you know, either close this or open it depending on the width of the molding if I need a bed board. But for today, I was just kind of messing around. I don't want to get too serious because I don't even know if this is going to work. So if it does, then I will do some kind of quick release, quick, you know, move around, some fast adjustments, and then I'll be able to reuse it. But for now, I'm just going to put some screws in it, tighten it down where I want it. So yeah, let me take it over to the machine. I'll go ahead and attach that chair rail, or the chair rail knives, and then I'll be able to see how far I have to space these out. No washers, just the bolts. Not too tight, but you know, tight enough. I think it's going anywhere. All right, I can do the other one. There it is. So hopefully you can see what I'm trying to do there. I gotta lower the knife until I don't see any more daylight. Right there. Right there. That should be good. All right, so here's what I got so far. I have my aluminum guides in the machine. They clear the pathway of the knife, and it's lined up. So the inside part of the aluminum guide is lined up with the outwardmost part of the molding knife, so that when it comes down, it's lined up with the stock piece that's being fed in. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I have it. Using some 3/4 panhead screws so they don't pierce through the other side. So after screwing this one down, basically I just put the stock in there, line it up, and then attach this one. All right, so I got my bedboard clamped to the table. I have my aluminum guides screwed to the board. I have my molding knives clearing. They're not going to hit the aluminum guides, so that's good. And one thing that Shopfox does say is aug out any excess material that you can to kind of not put the blades through hell. It'll just make your blades last longer. So I kind of did a rough trace of the molding profile, very rough as you can see, and I just put it on the table saw and I just did some 45 cuts on it, so that should give the blade a little bit of a break. So yeah, I'm going to set my my guide rollers, the pressure on the front and the pressure on the back, and I'm going to turn this machine on and make some molding. what's really nice is how well it did on that thin piece right there. Almost, I mean, I don't see any blowout on it right there. Came out really nice. I didn't even sand this, and it doesn't even look like it needs sanding. Yeah. Pretty cool.